Bunch of tough guys. You look like a bunch of fifth-grade sissies after a cat fight. You got anger, that's good. You're gonna need it, son.
Mister, I have not begun to project my anger onto you.
I'll smack you in the mouth. I'm Neil Diamond. You're crazy.
What's wrong with you? How does that sound for a change?
Dude, he's right. How many times do you have to watch this crash and burn before you say enough?
What's the point in arguing?
That's right. We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We gotta keep our composure.
God, I feel great. I'm almost happy. Let me revel in it.
Bazinga.
Booyah!
You guys always undermine me when I'm trying to make a point, and I'm sick of it. God! I'm surrounded by idiots.
Stop making such a big deal out of it, but you just don't listen.
You should never be allowed to talk to people.
What did you say?
Shove it up your butt.
And here he is, having the time of his life.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Sound Off Podcast, courtesy of the Evening Sports page. This podcast, I'm going to be doing just a Senior Bowl update and a preview of the game tomorrow. But first, let's give credit to our sponsors, the guys who help us get here. The Unit, which is a college and career group at Conway Church of God in Conway, South Carolina. The goal for the unit is promoting an intimate community for 20-somethings to gather, disciple, and develop a deeper and more passionate relationship in Christ. Thank you to the unit for supporting Evening Sports page and helping get me here to cover the Senior Bowl and, of course, Sunday Clemson basketball as well. Another sponsor, Photographers World Photography, run by Chuck Sylvie, also known as Charles Sylvie Photography. He does a ton of photographs and stuff like that around the Conway, Myrtle Beach, Horry County area. He's been doing Conway High School sports photos since, I believe, around 2006, 2005 maybe, so well over 10 years. He's been doing all their sports photos, team photos, action shots, every sport, volleyball, baseball, football, basketball, soccer, you name it. He's there. He does weddings, nature shots, modeling shots. If you love it, let him shoot it. That's kind of just been his motto for a long time. He does a great job. He'll help you out. You can contact him, photographer@msn.com, and that's photografir@msn.com, or his phone number 843 area code 503-1854. Again, that's 843-503-1854. Photographers World Photography, Charles Sylvie Photography. Call him today. Set something up. He'll do a great job. If you love it, let him shoot it. And another sponsor, Forward Church. This is a developing church that is launching in March this year in Summerville, South Carolina. Their goal is to love, encounter, and disciple. And look, they're looking for sponsors or people to invest in what they're doing. If you want to schedule Pastor Brad and Pastor Jonathan, the worship pastor, to come speak and play at your church, let them know. They may be booked up until their time when they're launching, but still inquire about it. These are great guys. They're amazing, and they would love to come help you in your church, and they would love for you to be able to help them. You can find them at forwardchurch.online, or go to any social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at forwardchurchsc. So be sure to go check them out, see what they're doing, and they stay updating social media to keep you updated. So be sure to check them out. Thank you again to all these sponsors that have helped me get here to Mobile, Alabama. I am here safely, in case you haven't seen it on social media. You can follow me on Twitter at SilveyESP. That's at SilveyESP. You can find me on Facebook at Austin Silvey, Twitter, or on Instagram at Silvey116. Also, follow the Evening Sports page, social media accounts. Twitter is at Evening Sports PA, or on Facebook at The Evening Sports page, and our new Instagram at Evening Sports page that we just put up, I think a few days ago now. We just finally got on the Instagram market. So be sure to follow us on that. Follow my social media accounts for updates all day tomorrow of the Senior Bowl. It kicks off at 1:30 Central Standard Time, so 2:30 over in South Carolina. It'll be 2:30 on the NFL Network. So be sure to tune in, watch it. Stay tuned to social media if you can't watch it, or even if you can, keep Twitter pulled up, keep Facebook pulled up. I'm going to try to update as much as possible. Hopefully get some post-game audio. But again, thank you to all the people that donated to this trip, the sponsors that sponsored it and are advertising with us through it. I greatly appreciate it. I wouldn't be here without y'all, and I just wanted to thank y'all again. But before I get into the preview, I just want to kind of talk about my day-to-day. Obviously, I stayed the night in Auburn, Alabama last night. Got up this morning, went and saw Jordan-Hare Stadium, which is Auburn's football stadium, in case you don't know. So I went by that this morning. I saw the Bo Jackson statue, Pat Sullivan statue, Cam Newton statue, the John Heisman bust. It was a really cool experience. I wasn't there long. It was actually really cold this morning, but it was an awesome stadium to look at. I'd love to attend a game there one day. But after I left there, I went down to Montgomery. I stopped, visited the Hank Williams statue, because when in Montgomery, you visit the Hank Williams statue. That's just what I did. I took a couple pictures. I went and ate lunch, well, it would have been lunch if I was in South Carolina. Technically, it was a really early lunch or a lunchy breakfast. I'm not calling it brunch. That's not what it was. I ate at Dreamland Barbecue. That was really good. And I made the 2.5 hour journey from Montgomery to Mobile. I made it in pretty good time. Got here about 1:40-ish Central Time, something like that. And at about 4 o'clock Central Standard Time, I got on with, and that'd be 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, trying to help y'all out in case you can't tell. I was able to get on with Road Rage with Walt Deptula on WCCP 105.5 The Roar out of Clemson, South Carolina. I got on his show at about 5 Eastern Standard Time, talked with him about the Senior Bowl, gave some updates. We talked about the Zebra technologies they're going to be using. So I was able to get on that. The audio from that is not up yet, but it should be up, I'm sure, tomorrow, or it may be Monday. I'm not sure how often they upload that, but it's available on iTunes on their podcast, and you should be able to find that at 105.5 The Roar WCCP. Search something like that in the podcast section of iTunes. You should be able to find it. So I got on with them. I went and visited the Senior Bowl Fan Fest or Fan Experience thing. I visited that a little bit. I got a couple items, bring back for people and myself as well. Got obviously a Senior Bowl program. I took a bunch of notes. I did not get to get in the autograph line and talk with any of the players and meet them or anything. Lines were just too long by the time I got in there, and I just didn't have time to wait. I wanted to go ahead and check in at the hotel, go get some dinner, get in here, kind of relax, because tomorrow's going to be a long day too, obviously. But hopefully I should be able to get some post-game audio with some players, and I'll be able to bring that back and play it on air. I'll upload it to the website, obviously. And our website, or the website I've been updating and building for media and content from the Evening Sports page, you can find it at www.elspmedia.com. For Senior Bowl updates, all that kind of stuff, you can do that, www.elsp.tk/Senior Bowl 2018. That'll take you right to it. Otherwise, if you just go to the main website, it's under Content, Senior Bowl 2018. Very simple to navigate and find. You'll be able to find the audio from these podcasts on that page, videos from throughout the week, player interviews, that kind of stuff, links to the Senior Bowl website. You can find the sponsor links for that sponsor this trip on that page, the Twitter feed for the Senior Bowl. You know, what you need to know is on that page, basically. But let's go ahead and get into it. Senior Bowl preview. I'm going to kind of start off just explaining what the Senior Bowl is. The Senior Bowl is the nation's most unique football game and football's premier senior showcase event. It annually features the country's best senior collegiate football players, top NFL draft prospects on teams representing the North and South that are coached by entire coaching staffs of 2 NFL teams. This year, it is the Denver Broncos staff coaching the North team and the Houston Texans staff coaching the South team. So you have Vance Joseph versus Bill O'Brien. The Senior Bowl conducts several events throughout the year. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the Senior Bowl charity run, Girls of Fall, middle school football showcase, 10-game NFL flag football leagues in Mobile and Baldwin County, high school football leadership. They do stuff throughout the year. You can find that on their website, seniorbowl.com. The date for it this year is obviously January 27th, tomorrow. Kickoff 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's on the NFL Network is where it will broadcast. And it's always played the weekend prior to the Super Bowl, kind of like the Pro Bowl. So on Saturdays you have Senior Bowl, Sundays Pro Bowl. Oh, excuse me. Obviously, NFL Network. Practices throughout this week were aired on the NFL Network. Also covered some by ESPN and ESPNU. But the game is on NFL Network specifically, just that. The first game the Senior Bowl was ever played was Jacksonville, Florida in 1950. The very next year it was moved to Ladd People Stadium in Mobile, Alabama, and has remained there ever since. This is the 69th annual Senior Bowl. So, I mean, this has been going on for a while, people. And it gets bigger and bigger every year. It was huge this year. There was probably some of the most media that I think they've ever seen at one of these this year. They were just absolutely blown away by the response from the media and all the people here to support it. You know, sadly enough, tomorrow's it's supposed to rain pretty much the entire time the game's supposed to be on. You know, hopefully something changes or it holds off just long enough. But, you know, rain will affect the attendance tomorrow, sadly. But hopefully it'll hold off long enough that we can at least get a good half in before it rains. Or if it does, hopefully it's just a light drizzle, nothing serious. But, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But, really, I'm just going to kind of update a little bit, maybe give a little bit of analysis. Pro Football Focus has put out a Senior Bowl Day 3 recap, which was yesterday, the last day of practice. I'm kind of just going to go through that. It should update y'all to the fullest, and then I'll just give some notes and stuff, you know, my personal notes to kind of explain some other things. But overview of the quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield was the best quarterback during Senior Bowl practices. He got the practice award for the quarterback position. His accuracy was a step above his counterparts. He consistently displayed an ability to throw with anticipation before his wide receivers made a break on the ball. He displayed some of the practice traits that teams will want to find from their leaders, such as encouraging, congratulating teammates, quickly moving from drill to drill. He has all the intangibles. Look, he has some off-field issues. He's going to have to deal with that and mature in that way. But on the field, he's a leader, and the guys around him buy into him, and they support him, they back him up, and they're with him. And that's just it's the truth, like him or not. And while he continues to be a polarizing prospect in the scouting community, he definitely helped his draft stock by showing up to the Senior Bowl practices, performing well. He will not be playing in the game tomorrow, however. He's going back home. That's why he was late earlier this week to showing up to the Senior Bowl, because his mom's in the hospital, not really sure what's wrong, but he's not going to play in the game tomorrow. He's going back home to be with her. I completely understand and respect that. And I respect him for showing up and really showing out this week in practice. And I think that really made an impression on scouts, the guys around him, everybody. I think he helped improve his draft stock, his weigh-in and his height that he was measured at, all his measurables, I think worked in his favor. And I don't see him getting out of the top 15 in the first round. I see him being a top 15 pick. Another quarterback that's really started to impress, Washington State's quarterback Luke Falk. He really helped himself in Mobile. He was highly effective in the red zone. He performed well despite the injured wrist, which is still protected by a brace. That's why he was held out of a lot of games this year. He was dealing with injuries all year. And he continued his prowess on play action, showing that his 26.5% boost in completion percentage after a play fake during the season was not a fluke. Josh Allen, he's had a decent week. He's wowed him with his arm strength. I think it's the greatest arm strength in the country by far. He can sling a football. His biggest thing is accuracy, which is yet to be determined. It's more or less, I think, to do with his footwork than anything, and that can be fixed. So that'll be the biggest thing is NFL teams bringing him in and just helping him work on his techniques and the fundamentals. Look, the kid has a cannon for an arm. Strongest arm in the country, I think. So if the right team brings him in, I don't think he should start from day one. That's been my belief the whole time. I think he has the most upside, most potential for any of the quarterback prospects, but I don't think he needs to start right away. He needs to develop for a couple years, preferably, in my opinion, under a veteran quarterback who's played for a while and can show him the ropes, teach him how to lead, and teach him the fundamentals, work on his mechanics. Because if he can get that down and improve his accuracy, this kid is going to be a force in the NFL, and I fully 100% believe that. Some pass catchers throughout the week. Iowa State wide receiver Allen Lazard had his best day of practice Thursday. Really stood out among both teams' wide receiver groups. Lazard had a strong day in the red zone drills against defensive backs. He displayed good hands, body control to go along with a physicality. He caught a nice dig route from Mayfield. Penn State's Deshaun Hamilton stood out with several nice catches on Thursday also, including a touchdown over Michael Joseph from Mayfield in the 7-on-7 red zone drills. Boise State wide receiver Cedric Wilson caught two nice touchdowns in the back of the end zone on Thursday. LSU's DJ Chark had a nice diving catch in the 2-minute drill, and another in the end zone to go along with some other nice plays on the day. Cedric Wilson, the Boise State, he averaged about 3.41 yards per route run, according to Pro Football Focus. That was the 7th highest among FBS senior wide receivers, with a minimum of 150 snaps en route. If you could get all that. The tight end that stood out the most on Thursday was Penn State's Mike Gesicki, who's obviously a phenomenal talent. He beat West Virginia safety Kaiser White for a nice touchdown in the red zone drills, caught a nice fade touchdown pass from Luke Falk. Another guy, obviously James Washington, he's actually still got some questions. He got beat pretty hard. I can't remember the defensive back's name off the top of my head. But the defensive back got the better. It was a Jacksonville State corner who really had his way with them on a route. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm trying to pull it up. I apologize. My mind's all over the place. Let's see. Okay, I'm having a hard time finding it. Hold on, folks. I'm working on it. I apologize. Give me just a minute. I can't find it. I know it was a guy from Jacksonville State, though, who really owned James Washington. And it was just on that one play I saw that was released, but I think James Washington's going to be fine. He's a good receiver. Obviously, I like Byron Pringle out of Kansas State. He really came on late in the season. The Oklahoma game is where he really started to come out and prove what he could be, show his true potential. But the guy I've been the highest on, and I've been high on him all season. I've tried to tell everybody week to week to week to week to week. Watch for Michael Gallup, the wide receiver out of Colorado State. He's by far my favorite player in this entire game. I've been high on him since the beginning of the season. Like I said, I think he's one of the best receiver prospects in this game. He was one of the fastest players on day one. He ran 20.69 miles an hour. James Washington, and that was for the North team. James Washington for the South team ran 21.25. But he was one of the fastest players on day one, or was the fastest player for the North team. That's according to the Zebra technology that they're going to be using. They've used it all this week. They'll use it tomorrow. It is an impressive tool that it can measure all kinds of things. Real quick, going back to quarterbacks, like it measures velocity, miles an hour, percentage-wise, how many rotations per minute on the ball. It's absolutely amazing what this technology can do. Max speeds for the running backs on the first 2 days. Kalen Ballage out of Arizona State was the fastest, running 19.42 miles an hour. Akram Wadley was behind him. Ito Smith, Jalen Samuels, Rashad Penny, Darrell Williams. They all were less than that. The fastest running back in the NFL in 2017 was Leonard Fournette, who reached a peak speed of 22.05 miles per hour, which is absolutely phenomenal. From the North practice, courtesy of Zebra Technology, the fastest throw was Josh Allen, 66.14 miles per hour. Like I said, kid has a friggin' cannon for an arm. He can launch the ball. He puts a ton behind his throws. Tanner Lee had the longest throw of 54.7 yards. The highest rotations per minute was Luke Falk's, 721.6 RPMs, and the most throws, Luke Falk had 112 throws this week. He really impressed them. He came out really strong this week, and I think he improved his draft stock somewhat. I'm still skeptical of him, but he helped himself out, no doubt. We'll see how he does tomorrow in the game, but also back to Michael Gallup. Look, this kid is phenomenal. He's by far, like I said, my favorite player in this game. He had 19 deep pass receptions, tied for the most among FBS receivers. He was targeted 20 plus, and those are deep pass receptions are considered being targeted 20 plus yards down the field. He had 19 of those. He had 541 deep pass receiving yards, 7th most in the FBS. He had an amazing pass catch from Josh Allen in the one-on-one drills. It was potentially the throw of the week. It was from the 35-yard line, but Josh Allen threw it from the 40 and dropped a dime towards the corner of the end zone. And Michael Gallup ran a great route, and a great fade route towards the corner of the end zone. Josh Allen put it right on the money. It was a great catch, great route running. It was a perfect play. It was phenomenally done. I know it was just one-on-one, but it was really smooth. Gallup, to me, he's a smooth route runner. He's physical at the point of the attack. He's got soft hands. He catches with his hands. He finds the ball really well. He's great after the catch. He had 20 missed tackles forced this season and 657 yards after the catch, 4th best in the FBS. He received a grade from Pro Football Focus, 92.2 receiving grade, which is 1st overall, 92.1 overall grade, 1st overall. In the 2017 season, he had 100 receptions for 1,418 yards and 7 touchdowns. His touchdowns were down, but he still showed what he could do. Obviously, team zoned in on him because he was the biggest threat. He had 14 touchdowns in the 2016 season. He also had a really nice catch from Baker Mayfield across the middle. It went right over a defender. Great concentration. You saw the soft hands that he has. Look, this kid he's absolutely tremendous, and he's going to be a great prospect for somebody in the NFL. I think this week in practice, and he possibly could do it tomorrow too, improve his draft stock. I don't see any way he gets out of the second round, but I think he has a chance to go in the first round. So, like I said, I've been saying it for months now. Michael Gallup, wide receiver out of Colorado State. He's about 6'1". He will be a phenomenal player in the NFL. I 100% believe that. Over towards the defensive side of the ball, Oklahoma edge defender Ogbonnia Okoronkwo had another strong day rushing the passer. He's got explosiveness. He's got the ability to dip around blockers. But the defensive player that flashed the most on Thursday and really all week and won the overall practice player of the week, was Central Florida linebacker Shaquem Griffin. He's got quickness, athleticism. They were all on display in all phases of defensive play all week. But on one specific rep, he displayed a quick inside pass rush move to beat Humboldt State's Alex Kappa for a sack. In the red zone drills, he quickly slid inside of the Indiana tight end Ian Thomas's block to blow up a run. Look, this kid, this is the kid that you've probably heard about by now, Shaquem Griffin, who he doesn't have a left hand. But, he doesn't let that define him. He doesn't consider it a limitation or a handicap. His mindset, this is a very mature kid, and he's a freak of an athlete. He's crazy quick. He started playing at defensive back. He moved to linebacker. He played some defensive end. I mean, this kid can play all three levels, and I think that adds to his versatility, which really helps him stand out to NFL teams. I think he's a top 2 round. I think he's a second round guy. I personally don't think he'll get out of the second round. I was talking with Walt, like I said today, Walt Deptula, and he believed that he, may not go that high, but he's on the same page with me. He's thinking this is a great athlete. This kid, and a lot of people call him a great story, but he's not a story. He has a story. This kid is a phenomenal football player. Phenomenal. And he doesn't allow his hand to limit him, or his lack of a hand to limit him. He doesn't let it handicap him. This kid believes in himself, and if you watch him play, you'd believe in him too. Auburn believes in him, and every other team they played this year believes in him. He had 51 total QB pressures this year, tied for 12th most among FBS edge defenders. He had 7 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, 37 quarterback hurries. This kid is phenomenal. He is a freak athlete. He's quick and athletic. This kid is going to be a great NFL player. He's versatile. Don't let the lack of a hand fool you, or don't let it draw pity to him, because that's not what he wants. That's not how he views it. He just views it as, look, this is how I was born. This is what I have to work with, and I'm going to work my tail off every day to make sure that, I prove myself. There was a quote I really want to read. He said a lot of amazing things, but in his press conference earlier this week, he said, I want to be known as a guy who's going to give his all in everything, known as a guy who has a motor, run all over the field, but not just run all over the field. He wants to enjoy it while he's doing it. And that's a quote from him, and when you watch him play, you can tell he's enjoying every play. He didn't get the statistic granted to him in the AAC championship game or in the Peach Bowl, but the last 2 defensive plays that both turned into interceptions in those games, he was rushing the quarterback on both those plays and forced the quarterback to make bad throws both times. This kid is a playmaker. He's an athlete. He's quick, and he's going to be a phenomenal player for a team. He brings intangibles. He brings athleticism. He's a phenomenal player with a great story. He is not a story. He has a story, and this kid is going to be a phenomenal player. Just watch him and enjoy it, and I have no doubt you will. He's going to be a great player. A couple other guys, Penn State cornerback Christian Campbell, he displayed some sticky coverage in the red zone drills on Thursday, while the Hawaii safety Trayvon Henderson caught yet another interception as well. So, I mean, there's so much talent in this game, it's unreal. It really is. There's phenomenal players in this game. Couple small school sleepers. Pro Football Focus, which is kind of what I'm getting some of the stuff from, they only grade the FBS college games, which means the only grades they have for FCS players are typically from the one game they play against FBS opponents. So they don't have the same depth of data for these smaller school players, but just looking at these practices and evaluating them from the practices and even from the one game they each played, Weber State cornerback Teron Johnson had several pass breakups. South Carolina State linebacker Darius Leonard repeatedly made plays in coverage on Thursday, broke up several passes himself. He's also made a couple good plays against the running backs. There was one I saw, it was a dump off, kind of like a running back screen, and he blew it up. It was right there on like the 3 or 2 yard line, and he kept him from scoring. It was a great play. I think he broke up the pass, actually. I'm having a hard time remembering. I apologize. My memory don't work great. But maybe the highlight of the day Thursday for the small school prospects was, okay, here it is. This explains it, and here's the video. Was Jacksonville State's cornerback Saron Neal locked up Oklahoma State wide receiver James Washington. James Washington tried to make a nice little cut move. He stepped towards the outside and tried to cut back in, but, I mean, he was blanketed. He could not get away. His cut was a little off, and Saron Neal made a nice swim move to bat the ball down. James Washington wasn't even really looking at the ball at that point, so really, really great play by him, but by the Biletnikoff winner in James Washington. So he helped himself, I think, a lot. North Dakota State linebacker Nick DeLuca made plays in coverage on Thursday. And while he's not an FCS player, the lesser-known Georgia State cornerback Chandon Sullivan, he wasn't intimidated by these FBS wide receivers. He was very competitive in coverage. Another guy who's he's really started to make a name for himself this week. Richmond quarterback Kyle Laletta displayed some nice red zone accuracy on Thursday, rounding out with the afternoon's practice. So his name started to come up a good bit this week, so kind of keep an eye on him, see how he does tomorrow. I'm probably going to go at some point watch some film on him, try to get an understanding of who he is, how he plays, because I really don't know a lot about him, but he's made a name for himself this week. So that's kind of, the lowdown updates. I do want to update on a couple injuries and additions. There were a couple players that were out for day 3 of practice, which was yesterday, and they will be out for the actual game as well. Baker Mayfield, obviously, I said earlier, is not playing in the game. It's not due to injury. His mom's in the hospital, and he wants to be with her, so we completely understand that, and I appreciate him coming here. And he played really well all week throughout practices, and I think he improved his draft stock tremendously. I don't think he gets out of the top. I think he's a top 15 draft pick in the first round. Top 15. I don't see him getting out of that area or that range. But as far as injuries go, Darius Phillips, cornerback out of Western Michigan, I believe. Chad Thomas, edge rusher out of Miami. Nathan Shepard out of Fort Hays State. Micah Kaiser, linebacker out of Virginia. And a Clemson guy, Dorian O'Daniel, linebacker out of Clemson. He had some rib problems or hurt his ribs, so he didn't play in practice yesterday, and he's not playing in the game. But the first 2 days of practice, he was really, really making a good name for himself. He really was impressing. This is a guy that I think he came in around 215. I think he weighed in at. He's about 6'1", so he could play safety, linebacker. He's a versatile guy like that. He's great in coverage. He emerged as one of the best linebackers in the country in 2017. He had 227 tackles, 28 for loss, 8.5 sacks, 12 quarterback pressures, 3 interceptions for 67 yards, 2 of them touchdowns. He had 5 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 recovered fumbles. And that was in 1,465 snaps over 56 games, 27 starts in his career. He really emerged, and he can play in space. So his versatility and the way he really showed out in the first 2 days of practice here, I think really helped him, and I think he's going to be a phenomenal NFL player. I think he has a chance, I guess depending how he does at the Combine, how he runs there, to be a late first rounder. But I think, again, with him, I think it's second round or bust. I don't see him going past the second round. So I'm going to say it really depends on the Combine. But if it was at this point going off of it, I'm going to say he's probably an early second rounder, somewhere in the top 10, top 12 of the second round, I believe, personally. If he runs well at the Combine, that could improve, from my opinion. But for right now, I'm going to say about top 12, top 10 of the second round in the NFL draft. But there were a couple additions made. Oren Burks, linebacker out of Vanderbilt, Nate Andrews, a safety out of Florida State, and Bilal Nichols out of Delaware. All were added to the roster this week. So, good for them. They have a chance to come in and help themselves improve their draft stock. And update, practice awards were given out yesterday. The overall award, Shaquem Griffin, Central Florida. Quarterback award went to Baker Mayfield of Oklahoma. Running back went to Akram Wadley out of Iowa. The wide receiver tight end award went to James Washington, OK State. Offensive line award went to Isaiah Wynn out of Georgia. Defensive line, Justin Jones, NC State. Linebacker, Kamoko Turi out of Rutgers. Defensive back, MJ Stewart out of North Carolina. And kicker punter award went to Daniel Carlson out of Auburn. So a local to the state guy getting the kicker and punter award. He is a phenomenal kicker, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he hit like a 58-yarder in one of these practices this week, and it had room to go further back than that. So I understand that completely. He was one of the best, if not the best kicker all season, and even coming into the season. But as far as that goes, that's your update. Kind of early, I explained what the Senior Bowl was, why they have it, update on all the players, awards, analysis on a couple of my personal favorite players. But real quick, just to go over a couple other things. Last year, in the 2017 game, the South beat the North 16-15. North coach was John Fox of Chicago at the time. And the South coach was Hugh Jackson out of Cleveland. It was one of the closest games in Senior Bowl history. South held off the North in the game's final minutes to win 16-15 in front of 32,175 fans. It was the South's second straight victory in the series. Cal quarterback Davis Webb threw for 165 yards, connected with Texas A&M wide receiver Josh Reynolds on a 39-yard score in the second quarter for his only touchdown of the game. So this last year was one of the closest games in the Senior Bowl's history. Tomorrow, I'm thinking it'll probably be higher scoring, should the rain hold off. Now, if the rain doesn't hold off, then it could turn into an ugly game, but I still think it's going to be higher scoring than that. There's just a lot of talent at the receiver and running back positions this week. There's talent on the defense, but the offensive talent this year is really phenomenal. Last year in the 2017 NFL Draft, there were 4 first-round picks from guys that played in the Senior Bowl. 13th to the Arizona Cardinals, Hassan Reddick. 19th to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, O.J. Howard. 23rd to the New York Giants, Evan Ingram. 27th to the Buffalo Bills, Tre'Davious White. It was a strong year on the lines for the Senior Bowl last year, with a majority of the linemen who participated in the Senior Bowl hearing their name called at the NFL Draft, which I think was 87%. There were 8 out of the 8 defensive tackles drafted, 9 out of 9 defensive ends, 7 out of 11 offensive tackles, 8 out of 8 offensive guards, and 7 out of the 8 tight ends that all played in the Senior Bowl were drafted last year, which is absolutely phenomenal. 85 of the Senior Bowlers from last year's team were selected in the draft. That's the 11th time in 12 years at least 82 of the players were selected. 31 of the NFL teams, or 31 of the 32 NFL teams, selected a player that played in the Senior Bowl. 16 NFL teams selected 3 players from the Senior Bowl. 53 of the Senior Bowlers were drafted in rounds 2 to 5, and there were 26 alone selected in the 3rd round. And in comparison, only 67 early entry players were selected out of 95 that declared early. So look, the Senior Bowl is a great place to come and improve your draft stock. If you want to improve your draft stock, if you're a senior or if you're a junior thinking about going early, but you're not going to be a round 1 guy, consider coming back, playing another. I know there's the risk of injury, but look, this proves it's worth it to come back sometimes. I mean, the number and percentages of these guys getting drafted is astronomical. It's fantastic. There's a ton of guys that are in the NFL now that are succeeding, and really abundantly, that have played in this game. There's Hall of Famers that have played in this game. 2016 Senior Bowlers, Dak Prescott, Braxton Miller. There's all kinds of just phenomenal players that have played in this game. And if you're considering the NFL Draft as a player, coming out early, and if you're not going to be a first rounder, it may be in your best interest and benefit to come back and see if you can get invited to the Senior Bowl. But as far as that goes, look, that's really all the time I've got. But go back, listen to this podcast in case you missed something. There's a lot of good information. Stay tuned tomorrow, obviously, to keep up with scores from the Senior Bowl that I'm going to give. Hopefully some good post-game interviews, pre-game stuff. Again, my Twitter, at SilveyESP. That's at SILVEYESP. Facebook, at Austin Silvey. Instagram, Silvey116. Or follow the Evening Sports page as well. Twitter is at Evening Sports PA. Facebook is at The Evening Sports page. And Instagram is at Evening Sports page. So follow us, follow me on all our social media accounts to keep up with everything, get updated. And I look forward to bringing some good content tomorrow. Hopefully the rain holds off, at least somewhat, where we can get the game in, get a good game in, have a good crowd show up. So just stay tuned. I'll keep you updated, try to bring the best content I can. Again, thank you to all the sponsors, Forward Church, Photographers World Photography, The Unit, College and Career Group. I appreciate it. Everybody who donated on GoFundMe, or if you gave cash, checks, however you contributed, I thank you for prayers, for shares on Facebook and Twitter. I appreciate it all. I wouldn't be here without y'all, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it, and I'm truly thankful from the bottom of my heart. And just stay tuned. I'm ready to bring good content, so I look forward to it. Again, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, NFL Network for the 2018 Senior Bowl. 1:30 Central Standard Time if you're listening from Alabama or any further west out here. But thank you for listening, and stay tuned. There's a lot more to come.
Booyah!